Arrival is not your average sci-fi movie. After mysterious spacecrafts appear in 12 locations across Earth, linguistics expert Louise Banks must figure out how to communicate with the aliens, to identify their purpose here, and ultimately save humanity from themselves. Sure, the film has many classic sci-fi ingredients: aliens, advanced science and technology, seeing the future, and a global conflict that threatens mankind's survival. But Arrival departs from standard sci-fi conventions with some unorthodox elements: a present-day world setting rather than an alternate reality, the absence of futuristic technology or overt time travel, organic shapes and effects instead of flashy spectacle, and most of all, by telling an epic story in a realistic, close-to-home, naturalistic style that director Denis Villeneuve calls dirty sci-fi. The documentary-like feeling draws us in and makes the characters relatable, so we feel as if these incredible events could just as easily happen to us. Because we're so used to certain sci-fi conventions, we have preconceived notions about the look of extraterrestrials, droids, or robots. We expect to see advanced technology, and we assume aliens will probably be a nefarious threat to mankind. But by subverting our expectations, Arrival's different sci-fi spin underscores its timely, all-too-relevant message: beware the dangers of relying on our preconceptions about the foreign or unknown. In today's fractured socio-political climate, we face an urgent need to communicate. In visual terms, dirty sci-fi comes down to a naturalistic filming style that makes us feel close to the characters.
We created an approach for the movie that we call dirty sci-fi. We were trying to create the feeling that this was happening on a bad Tuesday morning, going away from the scope of the huge movies, going away from the flares. We were trying to make something delicate.
Arrival takes inspiration from the classic Steven Spielberg's Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
If you think about what that movie did, and the way Spielberg cast that film with very real-looking people in their houses and what they wore and the cars they drove, it felt like people that you know. That's why I think that you have these very relatable people in an extraordinary situation.
Instead of the more average sci-fi's typical hollow spectacle for its own sake, Arrival enters the alien contact story via Louise's personal experiences with her daughter, grounding us in the larger global events in a natural, connective way.
I always felt that it was one of the rare sci-fi that was grounded in emotion.
While many sci-fis are set in a future, alternate reality, or parallel world, the events in Arrival take place in hours.
He wanted it to feel like it could happen any day, so it doesn't exist in another universe, it exists in our universe.
Typically, sci-fis often revolve around technology that doesn't yet exist in our time. But here, apart from the aliens' unknowable mysteries, the only available technology and tools are current science and linguistics.
No, I didn't want the humans to use technology that didn't exist. I wanted them to use what is available today. If you talk with aliens, you will use a whiteboard with a marker.
Most science fiction films rely on a fair amount of suspended disbelief, but there's very little magic going on here. The events are plausible. Even if aliens haven't yet made contact, they could.
Wouldn't be so shocked if something like this happened. Like, someday we could be visited.
Likewise, Louise's sessions going through the methodical steps of teaching language to the aliens helps the movie's realistic outlay as a thought experiment. Part of challenging our sci-fi preconceptions means not giving us the obvious threatening aliens we expect. Instead, Arrival's extraterrestrials feel organic, a dreamlike, surrealist mashup of recognizable animals from our natural world.
I wanted them to have a huge, strong presence, like a whale. Or maybe you can have that feeling with elephants too. Strong, instinctive presence and a deep intelligence.
The spaceship alludes to a symbolic space presenting enlightening ideas and thoughts.
When we ultimately step into the spaceship, which is ultimately a temple, is a place where a certain level of truthfulness is revealed. We don't feel frightened to be in the ship, we actually feel enlightened to be in the ship.
The spaceship also alludes to the relationship with life and birth. The long, tube-like shape of the entrance to the ship's internal chamber mirrors the shape of the birth canal. It suggests that, in parallel with the aliens' emergence, there's an awakening, new growth, and understanding of the universe and life beyond that of Earth. Somewhat unusual for a sci-fi, the film flips the obvious old-fashioned visual connotations of dark is bad and light is good. Here, darkness doesn't need to be feared. It's just the unknown, what's yet to be discovered. The imagery reflects the theme that the unfamiliar doesn't have to be unwelcoming.
There's a visual trajectory about starting in a dark place, which is sort of the unknown, and ending in a place that's a little bit more elevated, enlightening oneself and coming to realization of who we are as human beings.
Ultimately, most sci-fi movies emphasize feelings of isolation, fearfulness, and caution for dark futures that could result from misguided human intelligence and hubris. But Arrival leaves us with a warm, optimistic message. While most national governments and militaries immediately assume the aliens are here to attack, probably because they've seen way too many conventional sci-fis about alien attacks, Arrival weighs up other reasons that we might be visited by aliens and suggests that their arrival could be a gift. By doing sci-fi differently, the film's message of hope has a better chance of being heard, too. Moreover, by pairing the alien contact story with Louise's relationship with her daughter, Arrival conveys that real communication means loving one another despite the risks.
One of the biggest key messages that I found in the story that I wanted to try and impart in the film is the need for communication, the need for clarity.
Arrival combines a personal, intimate story with larger, universal themes about the need for human communication and connection.